talk a little bit about what to do between sessions. And this is a question that I often get asked by a lot of my newer clients. And even if you're not working with me, a generic guide for you might be useful to consider, and you might tailor it with with your own therapist. So for me, the time between sessions is really the time for integration, and I consider it really important. Primes our body and our brain to the possibility of something different, bringing curiosity in our ways of being. So a few things I like to start with is what not to do between sessions. Definitely not taking really big decisions. If this has been something you've been sort of deciding about, for example, leaving jobs or relationships or making some really big financial decisions, it might be useful for you to wait until your next session with your therapist to bring some of your curiosities around that decision making, because sometimes this really strong impulse to do something could also be a way to respond to some emotions that are coming up that have been unintegrated, or some really strong coping responses that come between sessions. And this becomes especially important if you're working with someone who is led by the body. That means the body is now really being foregrounded, and some information or ways of knowing that was not available to you before might now become really loud. Sometimes a way to work through that distress is actually doing something really quick. And I would recommend that you really wait and deliberate on any of this, until you feel like you really got a sense of your choices. The other thing not to do is doing too much. So, if our propensity is to, keep ourselves quite busy, and therefore we expect that therapeutic processes, feels like we have to be doing, then definitely something not to do is to continue to, read 15 books or watch a lot of YouTube on the topic of interest that you're exploring, or listen to a lot of podcasts, because I feel like that allows no space for integration of what's important for you. And it also is another way that we fill up the possibility of something that can emerge actually from your own experiences. What to do now between sessions? I would highly recommend doing any practice had with your therapist. I focus a lot on resourcing, so often we explore some resources in sessions. So it's useful for people to actually do those. For example, it might be a grounding practice, it might be just bringing attention to your breath, or it might be a way to express your emotions, some writing. So whatever it is that allows you a moment of awareness, reflection, that could be something that is quite useful. Second thing that I might invite you to explore is just bringing curiosity to your ways of being in the world. So you might notice that between sessions, you actually become really curious about how you interact with new people, or you might become really curious about how decisions are made by you, or your relationship to time or pressure, any such aspect. And you might just observe yourself in these moments, and if there's something that really catches your attention, of particularities that are to do with you, then that may be something that you make a note of, possibly consider bringing into the next session with your therapist. I've described previously in another video about the importance of dreams, and if you aren't already sort of tracking or listening to your dreams, that could be important for you to do. And if you want to hear more about that, you might want to go back to the video that I've done about the wisdom of the dreams. And the last thing would be always to have a think about what you'd like to focus on in the next session. Often it's really important that the sessions are led by you as a client and you are really deciding the course, the direction of the kind of path that you're carving out for yourself. Bringing some of the questions based on some of this exploration into session might be useful to do, so your therapist has a really good idea about what important for you and may collaborate with you about their ideas, what could be things that you want to try or experiment with or explore in the session. I hope you find this useful as a way to support yourself between sessions with your therapist. As always, please consider liking this video or sharing it with people. See you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.